Hey guys, what we're about to do now is vehicle dynamics. This is kind of different. I say dynamics because it sounds cooler and markets better. But it's just basically how to shoot in and around vehicles with a pistol. And it's actually a great opportunity. I think even in special operations, specifically special forces, you don't get to do this often. It's something rare. So I assume for civilians, it's rare to do because luckily we have series and they provide us with vehicles like this. So thank you, series, and you guys are signed up for this level 2, so it's important that you guys have this built into the curriculum. We spend a lot of our lives, I think the average is 101 minutes per person in America a day in and around vehicles. 101 minutes, that's a lot of time. That's like 4 years of your lifetime that you spend in a vehicle. So when it comes down to when stuff is going to go wrong or when things are going to be confronting, you might be in a vehicle, the bad guy might be in a vehicle, and you need to know how to operate in and around them. I've determined that cars, for the most part, are bullet magnets. And what I mean by that is, the easiest analogy I could give you is imagine a bad guy is 100 meters away. He's a football field away, and you're standing in the open, and he has iron sights on an AK-47. He goes to shoot you, and he's missing you, and he's like, damn it. And now he has to use marksmanship, and he's breathing, and he's trying to use good trigger control and break those shots at you at 100 meters. Well, now imagine you run behind a car. That target that you were as a person standing upright is very small, and when you ran behind the car, you basically increased the overall size of your target to the size of a car. And now what he could do is before he didn't use marksmanship. Now he's just going to use suppression. And he's going to just stitch this car as much as he can because it's a ginormous target. And not only that, now he can see all the impacts of his rounds because the glass blows out, the tire blows out. He sees rounds impacting, and now he can reference your vehicle and kill you behind it. Because now instead of one shot at a time, because using marksmanship, he's just going to dump 30 rounds at that vehicle until he sees an effect. These cars are not good as a cover and conceal position. Most people hide in and around them because sometimes that's all you got. If that's all you got, then you're going to use it. If not, I encourage you, especially in gunfights, to get away from them. Use them for a short amount of time and quickly upgrade yourself to another position, a building, a structure, something that offers real cover. Cover is something that stops bullets. Concealment is something that masks your position to give you advantage. If I'm hiding behind this, this is acting as concealment in most cases. Meaning if you're on the other side of this and I was shooting through this vehicle, I could have some effect on you, either by injuring you or killing you on the other side of it. Relatively easy. Now carbine, M4, rifles, high velocity, anything, is different obviously than pistols. Your pistols are they're not gonna have dramatic effects on this vehicle like a carbine will, but they still will do a lot of damage. And remember, like let's say we're fighting from the outside of this vehicle. Don't get sucked up into this vehicle. If you're positioned here and say there's a bad guy behind it, maybe advantageously I have standoff from it and I'm using it as an obstacle between me and the bad guy, but I'm not sucked up on it to where when the bullet goes through this, it blinds me because I eat a face full of glass. Or when a round skips off the ground, it skips off the ground and continues to move, but it doesn't hit me in my leg or my foot. In actuality, the further away you are from this, the better off you are in protecting yourself, because the less likely you are to get hit by a piece of shrapnel or a round. There's been a whole bunch of, not studies, but examples of dramatic events unfolding in and around cars, and usually it's not advantageous for anybody to use these. You ever see the shooting, the Hollywood, East Hollywood shooting, and the SWAT team rolls up hot in a mobile assault, which I think that's awesome. I think that they had a lot of courage to do that. Me, I would have jumped into Loomis' armored vehicle and just ran him over. But not quarterbacking their decisions, they went in hot and they gave that dude a lot of love from their carbine. But at the same time they rolled up hot, what did that dude do with the AK-47? He strafed him like an anti-aircraft gun. He was like, ga, and it stitched the entire vehicle as those dudes poured out of it and during that assault. And then how did they hit him? They skipped the rounds underneath the vehicle and clipped him. He fell on his face, and then he got shot in the face by them continuing to engage him. And then he bled out on the scene as he should have. So let's start off by talking about some considerations on being inside the vehicle. Remember, this is a thin sheet steel compartment. I have a buddy in GRS who was shot 3 times from the shotgun seat in 3 different situations from a car. Bullet magnet. I don't know how the hell that happens, but we stay away from them. 3 different times been shot in his ass, in his back, in his arm, because the bullets that were entering the back of the glass were, when they hit or impact any kind of metal, they follow the contours of the vehicle. So you can have a hard angle with any weapon system and potentially hit the right spot, and if it deflects the round, it will tuck itself between the sheet metal and then whatever else is in it. Maybe a liner, maybe nothing, and skim across and then index in the back compartment of it. Especially shots from a distance. The more distance you have, the less muzzle velocity that you have, and the more likely it is to travel the compartment, the length of the compartment. So if you're thinking, I'm trying to break contact from somebody who's shooting at me, and you're immune to being injured or killed, you'd be wrong. In fact, a lot of police officers on the other end of it are killed sitting in the patrol cars in gunfights because they move to it and the rounds are coming into the compartment from the front. When I had a reserve team, one of my San Antonio guys, one of his beat buddies got killed, got shot in the head by a guy, and he was hiding behind the steering wheel and got shot by a round that went in, traveled, hit the windshield, deflected, and hit him in his head, and he passed away. So don't think that in depth or whatever the opposite of that is, out of depth, traveling away from bullets is going to potentially save you. When you look at this vehicle, it's all thin sheet metal. We're all actually going to put rounds to this vehicle, but what is this called? What is this called? Some have D. There's actually not a pillar back there. It's like a little piece of metal. But these are made, depending on the year, to protect you as crush zones. So parts of the vehicle are made to collapse and crush, and other parts have reinforced steel to be able to withstand a rollover. This A-pillar, how big do you think this A-pillar is?
2 inches, 3 inches.
So here, it's about 3 to 4 inches, just like this. You remove that A-pillar is about this big. It's reinforced. Some of them are smaller. It's reinforced steel. Imagine like a roll cage, an inch and a quarter, inch and a half. That's how big it is. This is just basically welded on top of it. But you only have a thin tube or a thin channel of protection in that A-pillar. A lot of people think that when they pop the door open, the A-pillar travels with the door. It doesn't. There is no structural integrity here besides just a little bit more metal in this seam that's molded to fit in this weather sealing. This is very small. If I break away, can't do it because I'm weak. If I broke away this, you would see, we'll do it later. You move that, you'll see it, it's about this big. And this doesn't follow the protection. So you can't get out here and the drills that you have where you shoot the A-pillar or shoot the V-notch, you're not protected. Your nugget should be on this side of it just in case, but you're not protected. In fact, sometimes advantageously, if you're in a gunfight, it might make more sense to break contact from the vehicle altogether. Because if you're shooting from here, trying to provide protection from yourself and you can't see because it's impeding your vision, then you might want to shoot from here so you have an upright position, right? You might want to break contact away from here so you get a different position and get in the gunfight. When you're shooting through these doors are made of sheet metal and there's a lining inside with the components. All the components can be sheared. It's nothing. It's like rods and plastic. And then this has this rubber molded plastic. It has nothing. This will provide no protection. If you're on the other side of this and you're hoping that that will get burned through and this will somehow protect you, you'd be wrong as well. What's the most advantageous position to be on this vehicle? Okay. Who here has seen a 350 Chevy engine block? How big is the block? It's like this big. You could cradle it and hold it in your hands.
It's fucking heavy.
It's heavy as fuck, but it's cast steel. It's this fucking big, right? And that's a 350, which is like kind of the standard in automotive. And then that might protect you, but that's like the size of your body armor if you turn it sideways. That's it. So that's not going to provide you adequate protection from bullets unless you're directly behind it. We used to think that these wheel wells were good points to hide behind as well. But if somebody has anything high powered and they put it into that wheel well, not only are you going to catch shrapnel from that round or potentially the round, but everything else that comes out of it. A 62 grain green tip will burn through steel alloy like butter. That rotor like butter. It's crazy to see. We might do it at the end of the day, shoot 62 grain green tip through the rotor so you can see it. Nothing in these vehicles are going to protect you. In fact, more so, they're going to provide more shrapnel headed in your direction. In the first scenario that we're going to shoot, I'm going to have you guys shoot one at a time because I'm always going to isolate this and have to do something else. But it's probably one of the most significant drills you'll probably ever do in your life. And I said it, it's a big deal. Because what it simulates is you getting in a gunfight from your vehicle and fighting for your life through the duration. What I did is I put these targets out to represent one person, not a lot of people. One person who's moving like they would move, trying to survive the way you are trying to survive in and around a vehicle. You'll start the gunfight from sitting inside the chair, engaging from inside the car through the passenger side. For the sake of ammo conservation through this drill, you'll shoot 2 rounds per target. Then you'll open the door and drive the gun across the A-pillar because more than likely, if you didn't have effect here, he's going to be mobile. And then you'll do 2 rounds from left to right. That's advantageous. If I'm shooting here and I'm shooting somebody mobile and I'm hitting them and they're moving, they're continuing to move. Do you just stand here and then be masked by this and now you can't see anything on this side? No, because what are you doing? You're not dynamic. You're not setting yourself up for success. Now he's doing a tack reload or a slide-like reload behind the car, and then he low crawls over here and he shoots you in the back of your nugget. So I have to stay dynamic. I have to track the kill. You don't just shoot a big game animal and then hope that you killed it and put it down, camp, and then go inspect later. You hunt it, you hit it, and then you continue to track it until it's dead. The same thing. I come out here, 2 rounds, 2 rounds, 2 rounds. I'm tracking movement, the gun across 2 rounds. As I move across the car, I'm using this to segment my body position. But am I still vulnerable? Yes. So I'm not standing here where I could get shot in the gut. I'm standing here where I'm using just relative A-pillar cover to provide some kind of protection. Then I drive and I know this dude is fucking mobile. So am I going to go over the car and go, oh, don't see him, don't see him. There that fucker is. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to use the glass to your advantage, and you're not going to be hugged up on the vehicle. You drive it over here, then you back off, and then you see what you can see through the glass using a larger field of vision. And then you come here, and then you use this at your advantage, and you change your alternate position because you don't need to step out and give him all this. You could step out here and give him this. One thing I want you guys to always remember, when you start a dynamic gunfight, never get off your feet. Why? If you get off your feet, the lull it takes for you to get back on your feet is the lull that could potentially kill you. So if I go to my knees, both knees, and then I have to hop up, I have to dynamically explode through it, or I take the time to get my body up. But if I come here, I could reduce my signature the same way and still stay on my feet to stay dynamic to be able to move. Don't give up your feet in a gunfight. George, can you back, or somebody back this target up to the mat? Where my LE guys at?